The purpose of this experiment was to study the possible correlation between emotion words and the length of time subjects focused on these particular words. The motivation behind the basic question of this experiment was to determine if the subject's eyes fixated on both positive and negative emotion words as opposed to neutral words. To understand this article, you first must understand the definition of a few words. Attention is a cognitive process that involves specific concentration on a certain aspect of an object while ignoring other aspects. It is one of the highest researched and studied aspects in psychology. Lexical is defined as of or relating to words of the vocabulary of a language as distinguished from its grammar and construction. Our primary article was titled Emotion Words Affect Eye Fixations During Readings from the Journal of Experimental Psychology and Learning, Memory, and Cognition by Scott O'Donnell. The first related article we found was titled The Effects of Frequencies of 3 Consecutive Content Words on Eye Movements During Reading. This experiment tested the effect that 3 consecutive words in the first sentence of a passage had on eye movement. The eye movements of the subjects were tested to record the amount of time spent looking at each aspect of the sentence. They found that subjects were able to quickly move past the 3 word sets, thus also indicating the effect of word frequency on lexical processes. The second article we found was titled Time Course of Word Frequency in Case of Alterations Effects on Fixation Times in Reading, Evidence for Lexical Control of Eye Movements. In this study, the experimenters wanted to test the length of fixation on high-frequency and low-frequency target words that were seen in either a regular font or an alternating between case font, lowercase and then uppercase. They wanted to test the effect of word frequency and case alteration on fixation time. It was found that word frequency had a higher fixation time than alternating cases. These findings are also excellent evidence for the fact that word frequency does have an influence on early lexical processes. The third related article was titled, Do Frequency Characteristics of Non-Fixated Words Influence the Processing of Fixated Words During Reading? This experiment looked at the possible lexical ability of people to read more than one word at a time. It was found that words that appeared with a lower frequency, aka appearing less often, were fixated on quicker than other words.
This is the methods section of our video. For this study, 48 participants were recruited, including 25 women and 23 men, with a mean age of 21.5 years. For this study, 1,000 words were selected and incorporated into sentences for viewing. These words were all rated for both level of arousal and emotional valence, either positive, negative, or neutral. The sentences constructed were varied significantly in order to gather information on a number of attributes, including sentence length, word length, placement of emotional words within the sentence, multiple emotional words in a single sentence, etc. These sentences were presented to participants on a computer screen. The participants were told to say yes or no to indicate whether or not the sentence made sense to them. This was to ensure that they were paying attention. A bite bar was produced to ensure that head movement was minimalized. An eye tracking machine was used to measure the participants' focus as they read the sentences and showed how much time was spent looking at each word. The machine was recalibrated before every trial. The results were organized and run through an ANOVA to measure for correlations. 4 types of measurements were taken as the participants read the sentences. The first measure was first fixed duration, or how much time the participants spent looking at a target word the first time they came across it in the sentence. The second measurement was gaze duration, or the average time spent looking at a target word, in case it was viewed more than one time as the participant read the sentence. Single fixation duration was the term used when a participant looked at a word only once. In other words, it was when the single fixation duration and the gaze duration were equivalent times. The final measure was total fixation, or the accumulated time spent on a target word if the participant read the word more than one time. The first set of data looked at low-frequency emotional words. The frequency of a word measures how often it is used in the English language. For single fixation durations, neutral words were looked at for significantly longer than negative or positive words. The same results occurred for both first fixation durations and gaze durations. Next, high-frequency words were looked at, and a different pattern was found. For single fixation durations, neutral and negative words were both looked at for significantly longer than positive words. The same results were found for both first fixation duration and gaze duration of high-frequency emotional words. Word frequency had an effect on positive words, where low-frequency positive words took significantly longer to read. The same pattern occurred for neutral words.
For this study, we felt the authors did a really good job of designing the study. They used over 1,000 words in various the way in which they were used in sentences. Because they were using an eye tracking device, it was critical of them to minimize excess head movement and recalibrate the eye tracking device after every use. The only thing that could have enhanced the study was if there was more participants. They only used 48 participants. A follow-up study would be to look at how spoken words play off our emotions. The same could be said for hearing those same words too. It would be interesting to see if these results differed at all from the ones found in the article. This article did a good job of looking at emotion, how even small words can sway us one way or the other, whether our emotions play are negative or positive. This information can be important for a number of reasons, from books and magazines and even more importantly, advertising. Have a good one, y'all.